Welcome to the Insights solo episodes of the Culture and Leadership Connections podcast. My name is Marie Gervais. If you're passionate about gleaning leadership gems from others and delight at the capacity of the human spirit to survive and thrive, this is the show for you. After interviewing 100 plus guests from diverse cultures and professions, I have learned a thing or two about what makes successful people tick and effective managers lead. In each episode, I elaborate on one or several of the themes sparked by Culture and Leadership Connections guests and reflect on how these motifs can help us all be better humans. Join me as we contribute to the leadership discourse by elevating thought around the cultures and leadership themes that influence management and work. And now for today's episode. Hello, Culture and Leadership Connections podcast listeners. This is Marie Gervais with episode 11 of the Insights solo version of our podcast. And today I want to talk to you about procrastination and how to decode it. In my business, I help people with issues that block their progress at work. Sometimes it's a career wound or a career trauma. Sometimes it's an issue with communication, self-confidence, or presentation skills. But something everybody has problems with at some point or another is procrastination. So what do you usually think when you think of yourself or someone else as procrastinating? You may think, oh, bad time management, or lazy, or unable to push myself, or I'm so unmotivated. All of those things are incorrect because procrastination is actually a messenger. It's a message from your nervous system that you need to pay attention to. It's telling you something about the job that you don't particularly want to do right now. And if you listen to it, you will find out how to make procrastination your partner instead of your enemy. And why would you want to do that? So you can stop warring with yourself and work together with your procrastination partner to get to the great results that you want. One thing to think about is that you might have a procrastination style. And there are 4 main styles of procrastination, and they can change depending on what the job is and what kind of procrastination you're experiencing. The first type is the anxious type. So that's when you have unrealistic expectations about work. You've got things overscheduled. You never leave time for rest, downtime, or relaxation. And the indicator is that you feel anxious and you feel like you never get anything done or that your list is too long for what you can do in the day. That type of anxiety has a remedy, and the remedy is to unschedule. Plan blocks of relaxation and fun time as dates with yourself. If you do that before tackling the job that you don't want to do, you will feel much better about doing it. It's like paying yourself first. You put some money in the bank for yourself first, then you pay a bill without resentment. But if you pay the bills first, you feel resentful because you haven't paid yourself first. So for the anxious style, what you need to do is incorporate some pay myself first time of doing something enjoyable so that then you can get to the next step of the task that you have to do, feeling motivated to do it instead of feeling resentful. So that's style 1. Style 2 would be, I'd rather do anything than the task at hand, and I like to have fun. And this is not fun for me. So if this is not fun for me and I only do things that are fun, you might be boredom intolerant, you might be easily distracted, you might fear being trapped in some unpleasant task that you won't be able to escape, or that you'd be chained to your desk for something, or you'd be stuck in some situation with people you don't want to spend time with. That's usually the sign that your procrastinator partner wants you to do something that is fun. So it's different from the anxious partner because the anxious partner is looking to find some way to make sure that you keep every second of your day scheduled so you never have any time for anything other than what you deem as being work-related. The fun partner just wants to go have fun and just go play. So you want to give yourself some playtime. And any playtime that feels like play to you is what's going to help you get motivated to do the next thing. Now, an example is my husband, who has lots of long, boring reports to write. And if he doesn't write them, he doesn't get paid. And so what's fun for him is watching YouTube videos about guitarists or about cars he likes. And if he does that as a break for 10 or 15 minutes while he's eating his lunch, then he feels much more motivated to get started with the other things because he feels like he's had some fun. The third procrastination style is the plenty of time style, meaning that, I work better at my last minute. If I leave things till the end, then I have lots of adrenaline and I charge through. You actually don't. That's an illusion. That's the flight response of your amygdala that's actually pushing you into an awful state where you're not healing and you've got all sorts of cortisol running through your body. So it's not really helping you. You just think it's helping you to do that. And so if you hate planning and you feel like you want to avoid things all the time, you may be having the plenty of time style of procrastination starting to crop up in your life. Now, the way to deal with that is to chunk and block time in small pieces so that you get it done. So if I have something to write, like I have research reports to write, I go looking up places where I'm going to be researching it. I create a bunch of tabs that I save. I have a bunch of stuff like that, and I schedule that in as being the first part of the job a month before I have to get it done. And then the next part of the job is, do I need to talk to anybody? Schedule that in. The next part of the job is to start looking for things and writing notes and checking out the research. And then I have an outline. And then after the outline, then I start grading the report. And so I chunk it down into chunks of time of about half an hour to an hour and a half. And then when I get to the end of having to finish the report, it is not that bad. And I feel much better. I have not felt avoidant and I get things done on time. And before I was avoiding and trying to do things at the last minute, it wasn't helping anybody and also stresses out your team who's waiting for stuff. And so that is very helpful. And even if you have trouble doing that initially, which is something else I'm going to talk about, if you have trouble doing that initially, just starting on it is going to make you feel better about yourself. And so you're more likely to use that message as a partner instead of as an enemy. The last one is the perfectionist partner. And that is very self-critical, always scared of displeasing others or letting them down. Lots of negative self-talk or judgmental talk about others. Perfectionist is hard to live with, hard to deal with, hard if it's your inner voice. And usually the indication is that when people are perfectionistic, they feel constantly overwhelmed and they're really afraid of disappointing others. They feel like there's this big sinking pit in their stomach that they've disappointed someone and let somebody down because their own self-worth is related to pleasing other people instead of doing a job that they have deemed well done themselves. So how can you deal with that when that comes up? Well, it's to forgive yourself for procrastinating and think of one or two tasks that you've done when you did what you could and it still turned out fantastic. And it wasn't something you had to obsess over and go over and over again and try and make perfect. You did the best you could in the time allotted. And when did that work out for you? And so when you start collecting milestones like that, it puts the perfectionist self a little bit into the background. So it's not always there jumping up to criticize you. And whenever a critical thought comes up for yourself, say, prove it. Where is proof of this? Because usually perfectionist critical thoughts cannot be proved by anything that's happened in your life because you have so much excellence that you can point to instead. Those are the 4 procrastination partners. Underneath all of them are emotions because procrastination is related to some emotion that is not being acknowledged in your body. And the emotions tend to take roles. So just like there were types for procrastination, your emotions also take roles. There's your present self role, who might be willing to meet your inner procrastinator. And there's your protector role, who's seeking to shield you from pain, unfamiliarity, and discomfort. And that protector role might also be like a police type personality or a firefighter type personality, or it could be a first responder type personality inside a piece of you that feels that way. And then there's the manager role, which is always telling you what to do, telling you to follow the rules, trying to keep you in line, telling you not to do anything that's too risky. And then there's the past moment role. And that past moment role is some vulnerable part of you in your life at some point that didn't get healing or comfort. So if you start to go inside and tune into yourself and think, wow, when I think about doing this job, I feel, and remember that the feeling should be expressed in 1 or 2 words. It's not a big long sentence or a paragraph. It's 1 or 2 words. When I think about doing this particular task, like say cleaning out a cupboard that's been not organized for 3 years, I feel discouraged. I feel overwhelmed. I feel tired. Pick something that seems stronger and measure it on a scale of 1 to 10. How strong is that feeling right now? When I think about cleaning out that cupboard, I feel both tired and overwhelmed at about an 8 out of 10. So then when you think about that and you just say, oh, I'm glad I could name it. This feeling tired and feeling overwhelmed is how I feel in this moment. It's very important to state to yourself that you're feeling this in this moment because that allows it to leave. It's like a guest who has a timeline for when they can leave. They're not staying indefinitely. So I feel that way in this moment is very helpful. That is a good way to get started. The second thing that you can do is to notice where you feel it in your body. Where's the sensation in your body of this overwhelm or fatigue that you're feeling when you're thinking about doing this particular task? Where do you feel it in your body? I often feel those types of sensations in my chest or in my gut area, or sometimes I feel them as tension in my shoulders. And so just tuning in to your body and just saying, I notice this sensation associated with my fatigue and overwhelm for the cupboard. I'm just noticing it right now. I'm curious about it. and I'm just acknowledging that it's there. Now, the principle behind this is that when something has not been acknowledged, it continues to bother you. It continues to keep on pestering you. It's like a dog that wants to go out because it has to go to the bathroom. It's going to keep pestering you until it gets more and more urgent. So as soon as you acknowledge it and let it out to go to the bathroom, it's going to come back perfectly happy. So you want to acknowledge the sensation as well as the emotion. Once you have acknowledged that you have this emotion, you've named it, you've measured how intense it feels at this moment, you tell yourself it's at this moment, you notice where the sensation is, wait in silence for a minute, just 1 minute. You can put a timer on and just stay present to the sensation and the emotion. It will start to transform. A minute is a very small amount of time. And many people tell me that when I give them this 1 minute thing, that if they gaze in a certain area where they would normally gaze when they're daydreaming, that gaze spot helps them to just relax into it. They relax into that spot that they haven't given themselves any space for just 1 minute. So this sounds complex, but it isn't. Notice the emotion, name it, measure the intensity, pay attention to the sensation in your body, tune in, allow it to be there for 1 minute and get curious about it. If you can either close your eyes or look at a spot where your vision would normally fall, this is going to help you to release whatever it is that is bothering you. Now, you may still have something bothering you, right? So that's when you go back to, is this a protector or a manager that's telling me that I can't or can do this, or I should be working on this harder, or I should be more motivated? If it's a should, you should do this, or you could have done this already. That's the manager talking to you. And if it's the protector, it's usually an angry role that starts blaming other people. If I didn't have such a nasty boss, or my colleagues didn't always put work off on me, then I wouldn't be in this space right now. So if it is the protector role, there's a lot of blaming and deflecting going on. If it's the manager role, it's a you should have done this, you could have done that. I know you could have been better than this. It's a lot of that kind of shoulding to yourself. So you can ask your protector or your manager role to just step aside and let you see where that vulnerable part is that they've been trying to protect, because that's what they're doing. They're trying to protect the vulnerable part. And maybe they're willing to let you see that vulnerable part, maybe not. Remember, this is all your imagination, but it has an amazing effect on your nervous system. So you ask if they'll be willing to step aside and let you see that vulnerable part. And if they are, thank them and give it an age to that vulnerable part, because wherever it is, you probably felt it first, maybe age 7, maybe age 15, maybe age 25. At some point, you felt that vulnerable part and it is stuck in your body. And that's why the protector and the manager role are there, trying to keep it safe. So as soon as you acknowledge it and say, I did feel that way when I was 7 or 15 or 25, and you just acknowledge that you've gotten through it and you're an adult and you've made good since then, right? You've made some progress since then. It stops bothering you. Then you can ask the protector and the manager to work together and help you instead of just getting mad or deflecting or blaming other people or telling you what to do. Say, can you work with me and help me with this? What happens is those different parts of you that have been unacknowledged start to think how they could work together better, and you integrate. So what happens is the midbrain part of your brain, which is associated with present and past memories, and the amygdala and the brainstem is responsible for threat and safety detection, and your cognitive powers and your frontal lobes all come together, because this process of imagination about parts, about roles, and about styles helps so much to let you get a sense of your nervous system and start working together as a whole person. This really matters because 80% of the messages that our brain receives come from the body up. And we typically do not acknowledge sensation, feeling, or image. And when we do, we help those 80% of the messages feel something that we have a conscious awareness of. So 20% of the messages from your brain go down into your body. So just think about that. 80% coming up that you're missing, 20% coming down that you're trying to control, doesn't work. So if you listen to that 80% coming up, then the 20% has a cognitive understanding of what's going on and goes, all right, I'm with you on this project. And you stop sabotaging yourself. That's why you can use procrastination as a partner. So I'm going to tell you that this is something that happened to me just recently when I was thinking about doing this particular episode. I felt the power of my procrastination partners kicking in. I have a project that I'm working on that requires making phone calls to multiple stakeholders, and they haven't been returning my calls. They're saying they're too busy for the meeting about the project, and it's been frustrating. And so I just was avoiding and procrastinating it because I was just sick of people not responding. And so as I was going through this process, and I'm thinking, when I think about calling these stakeholders, I feel annoyed, I feel frustrated. So I'm naming the emotion, I'm feeling it, I'm measuring it. It was about a 6 or a 7. And then where do I notice it in my body? I noticed it in my chest. I felt that start to release as I tuned in for a minute. And then I thought, what part of me is trying to get my attention right now? It's the part that was saying, you should really have done this by now. You're late in the project. There's a manager role popping up. And I can say to the manager role, why don't we work together on this? Because you know, and I know that it's been difficult to get a hold of these people. It felt like a real shift, a real energy release around the procrastination. And so after I finished preparing for this episode, I just put everything down, went and got a glass of water. When I came back, I thought, you know what, I'm going to call those stakeholders again. And guess what? They were all there and they all answered the phone. So it doesn't always happen like that, but frequently you will find that surprising things fall into place when you stop fighting with yourself. So if you find yourself saying, I have to work on this, or I should do this, or I need to be better at that, you know that that's a protector part or a manager part that's trying to tell you what to do. And it's a message from your procrastination partner. So once you get that message, and you can also get the message from the styles of procrastinators, which is, are you more anxious? Are you looking for fun? Do you think you've got way too much time and you're going to be on time anyway? Is it the perfectionist voice? Any of these things can help you. If you just use one of them, it's going to help you to partner with your procrastination selves, bring them all together into one cohesive whole of can get this done, or you know what? I shouldn't be doing this anyway. I think so-and-so would be doing a better job. So whatever comes up, it will be the right reason after you've gone through this little inner process. So I hope you found that useful. And that's my message for you today about decoding procrastination. Gave you a few tools that you can use, and I hope you found them useful. And if you did, it would be so wonderful to have a message on our page, shiftworkplace.com/podcast. Right smack dab in the middle of the page is a red box that says, we would love to hear from you, which is true. Put in there, I really like that episode on procrastination. That's giving me some ideas. And I tried one thing and this part worked, or I tried that and it didn't work. Do a better episode next time. Whatever you want to say is fine with me. Put it in there. And that way we've got some things that we can put onto our podcasts, which we do put on as testimonials afterwards. So that would be much appreciated. So you go to shiftworkplace.com/podcasts, look for the red box that says, we would love to hear from you. And there you've got it. Thank you so much for listening, and may culture and leadership connections continue to guide and inspire your day.